Great, so we've made it now to the next section. It says find the slope and y-intercept of the line. And if you've been watching my video, you know that it's easy to find it if it's in my slope-intercept form, which is y equals mx plus b. But in this section, it looks like none of these problems are in this format. So we're going to have to move things around so that it looks like that. So let's start off with 46. And I'm going to start off with 46 by isolating my y. And so I'm going to add 4 to both sides. So I get y equals negative x plus 4. Now if I want to rearrange it, I can say y equals negative x plus 4. And now it looks like that problem. So now I can actually identify the slope. The slope is always right in front of the x. So in this case, my slope is a negative 1. So m equals negative 1, and I'm done. Now in this case, it also asks you for my y-intercept. So again, it's very simple as before. So this would be my y-intercept. So b equals positive 4, and I'm done. Okay, you could do a few of those. Let's do 48. I'm going to move things around, so subtract 24 and add 9x to both sides. Subtract 24 and add 9x. So I get negative 24 plus 9x equals 12y. Y is not isolated, so I'm going to divide by 12, divide by 12. So I get y equals negative 24 over 12 plus 9x over 12. And I can simplify this. This would be a 2, so I get y equals negative 2 plus, I can simplify that. I get 3 and 4 plus 3 over 4. And I'm going to rearrange this so it looks like my slope-intercept form. So y equals positive 3 over 4x minus 2. And now that I know that, I can identify my m equals 3 over 4. And my b equals negative 2. And I'm done. So let's take a look at something that looks maybe like 45. So again, same thing. Let's try to make it into y equals mx plus b. So y is alone, but I'm going to divide by negative 1, divide by negative 1. So y is still equal to 0. So when I do that, mx plus b, is there a number in front of an x? Well, there is no x. So my slope, or my m, is going to equal 0. And my b is actually this 0 right here. So this would be my answer. Now let me show you a few more. Maybe like 52. 52, if you divide by a negative, so y equals x plus 0. So my m equals the number in front of my x, which is 1, and my b equals 0. And hopefully now you get the idea. Okay, next section, you're graphing. So graphing, you're always gonna, let me start off by giving you the steps. So step 1, make sure that it's in y equals mx plus b, because this is the easiest way to graph a line. Number 2, you're gonna start with your b, or your y-intercept. Okay, number 3, you're gonna plot your y-intercept. Number 4, you're gonna rise over run, and up or down, and to the right only. And number 5, you're gonna plot again, and then you're going to repeat. You're gonna repeat 4 through 6. Okay, so let's start off with number 55. So 55 says y equals negative 1 over 2x plus 4. So my steps say, is it in slope-intercept form? It is. And I'm going to start with my y-intercept. So 4 is my y-intercept. These are my y's. So I'm going to start off here. And then it says plot. So I plotted. Number 4 says rise over run. it is negative, so I'm going to go down 1 and then to the right 2. 1, 2, and put a dot. And I'm going to down 1 and to the right 2, and down 1 and to the right 2. And now I can see kind of a pattern, and I can draw my line. And I'm done. Okay, 56, same thing. So I'm going to start off with a 3 on my y-intercept. So 1, 2, 3. And then it is negative, so I'm going to go down 3 to the right 4. And I don't have enough room to go again. But since there's a pattern, right, I would go down 3 and over 4. So it'd go somewhere here. Let's go the other way. So I'm going to go over 4 and up 3. So now I have 3 points, or 4 points in this case, and I could draw my line. Great. So the only one I want you to pay attention is number 57. There is no slope. So it says y equals negative 5. Anytime y equals something, so y equals negative 5, where would y always be that? Well, all of these points would actually be negative 5, right? Because this point here would be 1, negative 5. This point here would be 6, negative 5. And then this point here would be negative 5, negative 5. So this would be a 0 slope. Now, if the problem said, and let me zoom out. Let's say I had x equals 2, then where will x always be 2? That'll be an undefined line. So here's x equals 2, and I can draw lines like this, or dots like this, and my line's going to be undefined. Why? Because this would be 2, 0, this would be 2, 3, and this would be 2, 4. And so all of my x's are the same, so this would be undefined. Whoops, undefined. Find. Okay. Okay, so there's a few more here. Hopefully you can see that y equals x, or sorry, y equals 5. So where will y equal 5? Y will always equal 5 right there. Okay, 62. 62 is not in slope-intercept form. So let's do 62 right here. And I'm going to rewrite this. So 3x minus 2y equals negative 4. I'm going to isolate my y variable. So I'm going to subtract 3x. So I get negative 2y equals negative 3x minus 4. And then I'm going to divide by negative 2. So y equals negative 3 over negative 2x. And then negative 4 over negative 2. And I can simplify these because a negative divided by a negative is a positive. So ultimately I have y equals 3 over 2x plus 2. So now I know where to graph. So I'm going to start my graph at 2. And then I'm going to go up 3. 1, 2, 3 over 2. 1, 2. Put a dot. And I'm going to go backwards. So 1, 2, 3 over 1, 2 and put a dot. And I'm going to repeat that one more time. So 1, 2, 3 over 1, 2 and put a dot. Now I can draw my line. So it looks like this. And I'm done. So we'll do one more of those. Let's do number 64. So 64 is not alone. So x plus 5y equals negative 15. I want y to be isolated. So I'm going to subtract x from both sides. So I get 5y equals negative x minus 15. And then I'm going to divide by 5, divide by 5. So I get y equals negative x over 5 minus 15 over 5. Now, there is an invisible 1 right there. So I'm going to write y equals negative 1 over 5x minus, and then 15 divided by 5 is 3. So now that I have my equation in slope-intercept form, I can go ahead and graph. So I'm going to start off at negative 3. And then I'm going to go down 1 and over 5. So down 1 over 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Put a dot. I'm going to go backwards. So up 1 to the left, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And I'm going backwards because I don't have enough space on my graph. So that way you can go back and forth. And I'm done. Okay, the next section is fairly easy. So you're going to be able to, it says write the slope-intercept form of the equation of a line given the slope and the intercept. Well, we know that y equals mx plus b. And if that's what they're giving us, then let's say number 70 would be y equals 9 over 5 x plus 5. And I'm done. That's it. That's what you could do for this entire section. So the next section gets a little bit tricky. It says write the slope-intercept form of the equation of the line through the given point with the given slope. So all you have to do, again, is write down your formula, y equals mx plus b, and plug in what we know. We know that my slope is 0, so 0 goes here. We know that my y is negative 3. We know that my x is 0. And then we don't know what b is. So we're going to solve for b. So 0 times 0 is 0. And so b equals negative 3. Now that I know this, and I know my slope, my y-intercept, and I know my slope, I can write down my equation. So y equals mx plus b. So y equals 0x minus 3. And because I don't have an x, I can simply say y equals negative 3. And this would be my answer. Let's try a few more. I'm going to zoom in so that I can do this on the right side. So let's do number 77. So y equals mx plus b. I know that my slope is 2 over 3. I know that my x is negative 3. I know that my y is 3 plus b because I don't know that. Now I can cross cancel here and I get a negative 1, right? So a negative times 2 is negative 2 plus b equals 3. I'm going to add 2 to both sides. So 5 equals b. So now that I know my y-intercept and I know my slope, I can write down my equation. So y equals 2 over 3x plus 5. And I'm done. You can go ahead and do that on your own, the rest of those problems. Okay, moving on. Okay, so this next section is a little bit longer, but it's exactly the same thing. You're just trying to figure out what to do. So it says write the slope-intercept form of the equation of a line with the given points. So I'm going to zoom in over here. And I know that in order to write the equation of a line, I have y equals mx plus b. And I need my m and my b. So they gave us 2 points. I don't have an m and I don't have a b. But I know how to find an m. So m, you're going back to your slope formula. So m equals y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. So I'm going to use this as 0.2 and this as 0.1. So 0.2 would be negative 2 minus a negative 2 over 1 minus 0. So that becomes a plus. So 0 over 1. So my slope is 0. So m equals 0. So now that I know my slope, I can choose whichever one of those points to plug in. So I think this one is an easier point. So I'm going to use 0, negative 2 as my point. So now y equals mx plus b. I'm going to plug in my 0 here. I'm going to plug in this 0 here. I don't know my b, but I do know my y. And remember, don't get confused with y and y-intercept. So negative 2 equals 0 plus b. So b equals negative 2. So now that I know my b and I know my slope, I can write down my equation. So ultimately, my answer is y equals 0x minus 2, or y equals negative 2. And this is my answer for number 80. Okay, I'm going to zoom into the other side so that I have a little bit more room, and I'll do one more. So let's do number 83. So 83 wants to go through points negative 4, negative 2, and 2, 0. So I'm going to start off with my slope formula. So I'll make this 0.2, and I'll make this 0.1. And it doesn't matter, it doesn't matter the order as long as it's in order. So what you can't do is do like 0 minus a negative 2, and then do like negative 4 minus, etc. So that is what you can't do. You have to go in order. So let's go in order. So 0 minus a negative 2, so then I'm going to have a 2 minus a negative 4. So that becomes a plus, and this becomes a plus. So 0 plus 2 over 2 plus 4, so 2 over 6, which is 1/3. So now I know that my slope is going to be 1/3. I think 0.2 is an easier point to use. So I'm going to plug in what I know. So y equals mx plus b. I'm going to plug in my m. I'm going to plug in my x. I'm going to plug in my y. So plus b. So this is 2 over 3 plus b equals 0. And I'm going to subtract 2 over 3, subtract 2 over 3. So that cancels, and my b equals negative 2 over 3. So now that I have these two things, my slope and my y-intercept, I can write the equation of a line, and I'll write it in light blue. So y equals 1 over 3x minus 2 over 3, and I am done. Okay, so the next section is the hardest section, but it's very easy to understand once you know what to do. So hopefully I went through this in class, and I want to make sure that you guys remember that your slope, if it's parallel, then my m is going to be the same. And if my slope is perpendicular, then my slope is going to be the opposite reciprocal. Okay, so let's start off with 87 because it says parallel, and parallel is a little bit easier than perpendicular. So the first step is it in slope-intercept form? Is it in this form? This is my first step. Yes, it is. Okay, so number 2 is identify your slope. So in this case, my m equals 1. And because it's parallel, then my m is going to be 1. So now I can do the same thing that I did in the last section, which is plug everything in. So y equals mx plus b. I'm going to plug in 1, and then I'm going to plug in these points. So my y is negative 3, and my x is negative 1, and I don't know what my b is. So this would be negative 1, that's negative 3, plus b. I'm going to go zoom a little bit up. I'm going to add 1 to both sides, add 1 to both sides. So negative 2 equals b. So now that I know my b and I know my slope, I can write the equation. So a parallel line to what was given to us would be 1x minus 2. And if you don't want to put the 1 in front of it, that's totally fine. Because you could just say y equals x minus 2, and it's implied that the x has a 1 in front of it. Okay, let's do one more. I'm going to use blue. Let's say we have something that is like a 90. Let's do 94, and we'll do 96 as well. So 94. Okay, so 94. I have perpendicular. So first I have to figure out my perpendicular slope. So since it's already in y equals mx plus b, I need to do the opposite reciprocal. And the opposite reciprocal of negative 3 is actually positive 1 over 3. So now I know my slope. I'm going to write y equals mx plus b. I'm going to plug in what I know. I know that my y is negative 2. My m is now 1 over 3. My x is 3. I don't know my b. If I cancel those out, I get 1 plus b equals negative 2. Minus 1, minus 1. So my b equals negative 3. So now that I know my b and my slope, I can now write the equation. And the answer for number 94 is y equals, hold on, let's put it, well, I'll just do this. The ultimate answer is y equals 1 over 3x, which is right here, minus 3, which is here. Okay, and then I promised you I would do 96 as well. So y equals my slope, which was 2, and my b, which is 0. And this is my answer. And I'm done. All right, ladies, thanks for watching. I hope this was very helpful. And I will be back soon. So we'll go over some of these questions, but I hope this video helped. Okay, bye.